Government has approved $1.7 million for road repairs in the Cottage constituency. Dominica Cancer Society promotes petition for more affordable access to cervical cancer screening within the region, and work is expected to begin shortly on a permanent solution to the Ponkase road collapse. Hello and welcome to another edition of National Focus. I'm Kimani Saint-Jean.
And I'm Tarnia Green. Stay with us for the details of the headline stories and more right here on National Focus.
The facts as they are, brought to you every day. Only on GIS Channel 7.
The government of Dominica has approved $1.7 million for road repairs in the Cottage constituency. This was confirmed last week by a parliamentary representative for the Cottage constituency, Honorable Reginald Austrie. Honorable Austrie explained that the roads were damaged during the West Coast Water Project, which ended in Capuchin.
The contractor was supposed to have engaged the Public Works Corporation to rehabilitate the road and to bring it back in the state where they met it. But that took some time in coming. The rains fell, the road was further deteriorated, and so the government had to take action. And so the government have agreed to make up for the shortfall, because $400,000 which the contractor entered into the arrangement with Public Works was just not sufficient. And so the government has in fact indicated and has made available $1.7 million to rehabilitate the road. That will include drainage in certain specified areas, will include a complete resurfacing of the road from Tatan to Capuchin, and it will also include the widening of some of the corners and some of the narrow areas on the road. So we believe this is welcome news, and the people from Cottage should be very happy. I want to thank them for their patience. We were in fact aware of this situation. They were very, very patient, and we need to thank them for the patience that they exercised for the period of time, and to thank the Minister of Finance for making that money available. So very shortly, if the rain would give us a break, the persons from Cottage, Tukari, Savanpai, Tantan, Clifton, Capuchin, Cookie will have basically a brand new highway.
In other news, the Roosevelt-Skerritt administration continues to spend millions of dollars on the implementation of social programs throughout the island. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt-Skerritt, speaking to reporters last Wednesday, gave details of some of the projects currently being undertaken by government.
When you have the SUK program that's costing us about $1 million+, and the place of safety for children in Jimmet is costing the treasury $70,000 a month to run. $70,000 a month, helping children who are at risk, children who have been abandoned by their parents. This really should not be a state responsibility. It should be families' responsibility to care for the children. But in instances where the families do not do it, then the state has to come forward and do it. And this is just for the place of safety. It's not about the number of foster care families that we're helping every day. It is not about Operation Youth Quick. This is not about youth programs we have for children. This is just one facility at Jimmet called Chances that we're spending $70,000 a month. And this money that you must pay, because you have to take care of the children. You have to buy clothes for them. You have to buy food for them. You have to pay staff, 24 hours staff for the 24 hours. You know. So all those things when they add up, you talk about millions. And millions that sometimes you do not have. So people have to appreciate that, and people have to temper the demands in the state. You understand? And understand that the state has gotten into areas of assisting people that really is not the fundamental roles and responsibilities of a state.
The Dominica leader has given a commitment to continue with the implementation of the social programs.
We have to continue, and we have no choice. And this is why when I hear the opposition talking about handouts and all these things, that the people must be very concerned about these things. You cannot stop the health care program. As a matter of fact, I believe that we even need to extend it in some communities. So we can't stop it. We cannot close down the place of chances. I'd rather not do a road and let the potholes be in the roads than to close chances and to stop the health care program. This thing is too fundamental to the lives of many senior citizens and young children in the country for the government to even think of shutting these programs down. And the government is going to remain firm on its social investment programs, whether it's school books for children, uniform shoes, and so forth for them, assisting students at the state college. We will continue those programs.
When it comes to cancer screening, it is commonly believed that more is better. More frequent screening translates to more lives saved. In response to this plea to provide more affordable access to cervical cancer screening within the region, an electronic petition is being promoted by the Dominica Cancer Society. Cervical cancer is a disease characterized by the abnormal growth of cells in the cervix. Launched on June 11th, the petition for cervical cancer screening aims to encourage Caribbean leaders to ensure that all Caribbean women have easy access to testing which can help save lives. Vice President of the Dominica Cancer Society, Vino Royer, believes the use of simple screening methods will allow for awareness and prevention of this disease. According to Royer, the goal is to reach 1.5 million signatures from across the Caribbean within 3 months. When that goal is reached, the petition will be sent to the Caribbean governments to solicit additional support and funding for cancer treatment. The Dominica Cancer Society sees this move as necessary since statistics indicate that 38,000 women throughout Latin America and the Caribbean die of cervical cancer every year, and more than 95% of these cases can be prevented. Half of these victims most likely did nothing or knew nothing about preventing the onset of cervical cancer.
It is such a simple thing that has to be done, such a simple test that can prevent the onset of cervical cancer, that the workshop took a decision to put out a petition to the governments of the Caribbean to ask, to plead, to insist that affordable access be provided for women of the Caribbean to have the screening done and so prevent cervical cancer.
Royer hopes the petition will encourage people to get involved in the fight against cervical cancer.
The petition is online. As we say, it's an e-petition. The workshop that we did focused on today's trend, whereby, as you know, that everything is online, right? Information technology is the way forward. Everybody has access, or in some way, somehow, the young people have access to the internet, and that is where the message goes around. And so the focus was on e-messages, right? Electronic messages, where we focused on the use of Facebook and Twitter and the rest of it. And this e-petition is part of it.
To assist those affected by the disease, a support group is in place at the Princess Margaret Hospital.
There is the support group that meets at hospital, and we organize for counseling and just general support to patients on the ward and the outpatients at oncology clinic. There's always a lot of sorting out to do when you get a diagnosis of cancer. And so we've made it our business to reach out to people and to help them. And it's becoming more and more of a challenge, I can tell you that. There is also the ROSO support group. The ROSO support group reaches out to the community, and they take on anybody who needs assistance. They will sit with you, they will organize, come visit you, assist you in different ways. We are hoping as well to reach out to other parts of the country and establish support groups.
Early intervention saves lives is the message being communicated by the Dominica Cancer Society. Vice President Royer encourages citizens to not only sign the petition, but to get regular checkups, as this may be the key to saving their lives. The online petition can be found at www.endcervicalcancernow.org. And Tanya, it's very important that young women, especially over the age of 18, start getting regular checkups in order to prevent having cervical cancer or for early detection of cervical cancer. And it's said that especially when you've had multiple sexual partners or you're sexually active, then it's important to have a pap smear. What are your thoughts?
Yes, definitely. And you know, there are some women out there who are a bit hesitant about going out there and taking the initiative to get a pap smear done. And there are so many benefits to be derived from getting a pap smear done, because first of all, it will detect whether or not you have any precancer cells leading up to cervical cancer. So there are some women out there as well who may not be aware of some of the symptoms associated with cervical cancer, and probably it's an opportunity for us to just, you know, share with our women folk out there some of the symptoms of cervical cancer, and, you know, bleeding from the vagina that is not normal, or a change in your menstrual cycle that you can't explain, bleeding when something comes in contact with the cervix, such as during sex or when you put in a diaphragm, when you experience pain during sexual intercourse, and also vaginal discharge that is tinged with a little blood. So if you notice any of those symptoms, maybe it should raise a flag, and then you should probably go to your gynecologist and inquire, you know, what is going on.
Yeah, but we really want to encourage women, don't wait until they get to that stage. Don't wait until you actually start seeing the symptoms. Start having your pap smear done early
and regularly.
Every year, once a year. And sometimes they say that if the doctor says that you're doing very well, they can recommend that you do it every 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, but every year ensure that you take a pap smear and make sure that you're doing well in order to prevent cervical cancer.
Yes. Okay. In more health-related news, Dominica's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Johnson, is reporting a decrease in the number of infant mortality rates in Dominica for the period 2012 to 2013. The Chief Medical Officer made reference to those statistics when he addressed the start of a 2-day workshop on Thursday last week to review the island's maternal and child health manual. Dr. Johnson says the ministry is working to ensure that these rates continue to decline.
During the period 2007 to 2011, our neonatal mortality rate in Dominica have been going up and down each year. This situation has put neonatal health among the national health priorities, therefore. However, I'm happy to report that our infant mortality rate has fallen drastically to 18.9 deaths per 100,000 live births for the last year, 2012, a reduction from the previous year of 29.9 per 100,000 live births. In spite of this, the Ministry of Health is moving full steam ahead with plans aimed at lowering infant mortality, with particular emphasis to reverse the tide in terms of our neonatal mortality. I am confident that we will achieve the targets of 10 deaths per 100,000 live births or less by the end of 2019, in keeping with the objectives of reducing infant mortality stated in our National Strategic Plan for Health 2010-2019.
A Barbadian consultant was on island last week assisting the Ministry of Health in addressing aspects of the manual relating to newborns to ensure that it is consistent with international and regional standards and guidelines.
2 OECS experts last Thursday formed part of a panel discussing the OECS Economic Union and what it means for OECS member states. The discussion, filmed in GIS Studios, was moderated by Dominica's ambassador to the OECS, His Excellency Philippe Gregoire. His panelists were Rodinel Suma, head of the Economic Policy Unit, and Peter Moray, program officer in the Social and Sustainable Development Division of the OECS Secretariat. Responding to the question of what the Economic Union will mean for the region, Suma explained that member states can look forward to organized cooperation.
What we have done is to establish different types of functional cooperation, some of which have actually evolved into permanent institutions. For example, we have a common judiciary, we have a common regulatory authority for telecommunications as ECTEL. We also have a common civil aviation authority for the region. So what we've been able to do is basically starting with simple principles of commitment to working together. We've been able to institutionalize our cooperation and deepen our integration to the point where a lot of the services that are provided in the region to citizens, and which sometimes we might take for granted, are properly institutionalized and sustained, defining us as a unit. And those different examples that I've given have been recognized the world over as models for cooperation for other integration movements.
He went on to discuss specific ways in which a life will be improved for citizens of OECS member states.
Essentially, what we're doing is establishing a single economic and financial space. So it means that all of the operators in any one of our domestic economies, individual country economies, is free to move what we call their factors of production throughout the region to take up whatever opportunities they see. So in terms of how the economic system works, those that are best placed to exploit opportunities in the single market of the OECS are free to move to establish businesses wherever they see it gives them the greatest advantage to do this profitably and successfully. What this means is that you have freedom of movement of labor, but more significantly, freedom of movement of people. People can move freely from any one OECS country to another to have indefinite stay. That in itself is a direct benefit to people. People who want to take up opportunities, job opportunities in any other OECS country apart from where they reside are free to do so.
The OECS official elaborated further.
You have freedom of movement of capital. You have freedom to establish businesses, as I said. Service providers whose business basically is their own profession, and they can take to whichever country where they think they can earn an income from it, are free to do so. There will be no discrimination. So it's the same rights that we enjoy in any one country we would enjoy throughout this single space.
Peter Murray, OECS Secretariat Program Officer, was asked to explain the differences between the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre, which establishes the Economic Union, and the Treaty of Basse-Terre. One of those differences he listed was the implementation of additional organs like the OECS Assembly.
Represent their countries, parliamentarians of both opposition and incumbent parties within a maximum of 5 for each of the independent countries, such that they are represented in the same proportions as close as possible as they would be in the parliaments of the respective countries. That's totally new. That organ serves as a filter in the sense that maybe one of the things I should say to lead up to that is the fact that this new treaty allows for something called legislative competence, where the organization as a whole can put in place what's called laws of the OECS. The process for that, of course, is such that the ultimate decision making for making these laws is the authority of heads of government. But the Assembly provides a filter. It allows for the electorate, through their elected representatives, to speak to those laws, such that when these laws of the OECS are developed, these laws have brought on board what the constituents themselves in country would see through their representatives.
The OECS Commission is also a new addition to the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre.
There's an important other entity that did not exist in the old treaty. That's the concept of the OECS Commission, where you have a number of representatives of the countries at ambassadorial level who play a dual role. On one hand, they ensure that the organization, the secretariat, the commission, in a sense, carries out the functions directed by the authority. On the other hand, they serve as a liaison and a point of contact and a representative of the organization in the countries that that have appointed them to the post. So they serve a dual function, and that's a very, very important thing. The original Treaty of Bastille, 18th of June 1981, called the Treaty of Bastille, of course, because it was signed in Bastille. That original treaty did not have in place for that type of check and balance mechanism. It meant that things could take place without really the type of oversight and the type of interaction. There was almost a disconnect. The revised Treaty of Bastille seeks, through the Commission, to ensure that that continuity, that sharing, that communication, that oversight is in place, and therefore making it much more efficient.
The panel discussion was part of an ongoing campaign to educate the public on the operations and functions of the OECS Economic Union.
In other news, Dominica's Minister for Finance, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, has revealed that nationals currently owe the state over $100 million in taxes. The Dominica leader told reporters last week that his administration has been taking action to retrieve those taxes.
Our citizens owe the state $106 million in taxes. $106 million in taxes. I don't even need the $106 million. Give me half of it. Give me as Minister of Finance half of it. And we're able to address a number of the issues that our people are asking to be addressed.
So how are you planning to go for that?
Well, we devised a strategy. We have been offering people to come forward, and we would waive the penalties and interest. So we've been doing that. But even after you've done that, the people do not honor the agreement with the Minister of Finance. They still do not go back and pay. And in some cases, the interest and penalties have been substantial. So when you reduce this interest and penalty, our hope was that the people would have gone and pay off the principal, as agreed. But it's been reported to me that that's not happening. You know, some people are just not. They basically come to you to get the interest and penalties stopped, to stop increasing, but they do not honor the commitments. And so $106 million.
Work is expected to begin shortly on a permanent solution to the Pont-Cassé road collapse. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit and members of Cabinet visited the site last week. The construction of the temporary bypass has created a safe link to the southeast, while officials of the Ministry of Public Works are seeking to establish a permanent fix.
We had said, following the collapse of that section of the road, Pont-Cassé-William area, that we were going to first of all establish a bypass to ensure that there's vehicular traffic flow in that area, so that the people from Delicious, La Plaine, and Boudica, Castle Sky Reserve, we're not going to be cut off from the rest of the country. That we have been able to do within the timeline that we did establish first of all. We have gotten to the point where we have finalized the design and the cost estimate for a more permanent intervention, which would entail, therefore, box culverts and with returning walls on either side, and to ensure that we have proper guardrails and other safety mechanisms. The tender dossier has been completed, and of course we have invited contractors, and at least 4 contractors. So we're going through a competitive bidding process, and we expect by the end of next week to have the return of these bids by the contractors, so we can really address this thing in a comprehensive way with haste, you know.
Parliamentary representative for the St. Joseph constituency, Honorable Kelva Daru, is looking forward to the completion of a $10 million abattoir in Layu Park. The St. Joseph MP told reporters last week that the construction of the facility will result in job opportunities for residents.
This facility is ideally located, and I believe also that people from St. Joseph, Layu, and even Layu Park area, in terms of employment, they have this facility, because when it is completed, you will have services such as security guards, office workers, and so forth here, even persons to slaughter the birds, the birds and the pigs. So I think that a number of persons from this constituency will benefit significantly once this project is completed.
And in more news, patron Saint Anthony was the focus of celebrations at the Tukare Chapel on Sunday, when parishioners, Dominica's president, and cabinet members gathered to give thanks to God on Father's Day. Led by Father Herman Sharpless, the memorial mass began with a lively chorus, followed by a scripture reading from the New Testament, Book of Galatians. Here's a look at the event.
From the letter of St. Paul to the Galatians. Brethren, knowing that a man is not justified by works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ, we have believed in Christ Jesus in order to be justified by faith in Christ, and not by works of the law, because by works of the law shall no flesh be justified. For I, through the law, died to the law, that I might live to God. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the flesh I now live in the flesh. I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not nullify the grace of God, for its justification were through the law. Then Christ died to no purpose. The word of the Lord.
Father Sharpless elaborated on the life of Anthony, who was sainted less than a year after his death at the age of 36. According to Father Sharpless, Anthony was sainted because he sacrificed his life for the Catholic faith when he joined the Order of St. Francis of Assisi.
He became a Franciscan in hope of shedding his own blood and becoming a martyr. He lived only 10 years after joining the Order of St. Francis, and so he had no time to do just that. However, God had plans for St. Anthony. So simple and resounding was his teaching that he became a very famous preacher of the word. He spoke that word in season and out of season. He was fearless, and he did it with the conviction of the God he was called to serve. He was declared a doctor of the church by Pope Pius XII in 1946.
Father Sharpless also spoke about the life of King David of the Bible. He used David's experiences to warn fathers against infidelity and slackness.
There are many good fathers, but there are many David fathers who destroy their wives, destroy their family life, destroy everything because of the infidelity and unfaithfulness. And to add more pain to injury, they lie their way into everything that they do. But let me tell you, your day will come. Because God is not a joker. God is not mocked. And my friends, you may have all the power, you may have everything you have, it's just for a while.
Organizers planned a small recognition ceremony to publicly commend the senior fathers of the parish. Parliamentary representative for the constituency of Tukuri, Honorable Reginald Austri, towards the Mass's end, made informal remarks to his constituents. Among those comments, he tangibly complimented a local development committee for seeing to the upkeep of the area.
I've been looking around, and I must say I noticed the cleanliness of the communities from Tantanjalik to Savanpai. But I recognize that there's one little village that has been doing an extremely great job at keeping the village clean, keeping the community clean. They patch the roads, they build the drains, they cut the grass. You'd swear say that they are government. And just recently, they just completed the bus stop. Our community is made up of a number of expatriates, and they have come back and are playing their part in maintaining and beautifying the village. And as recognition for the work that they have done, I asked FAREP, and they have an executive committee. I think I'm the only person who doesn't pay subscription. But Yeah, so I want to go into some subscription. So I'm going to make a contribution, a personal contribution to your group, remove my subscription from it, and you can keep the rest for your group. So I would like to call on the president of the Monalwee Development Committee to pick up some cash, $500, which will assist them in continuing the work that they have been doing.
And that's the English segment of the news. We apologize for not being able to bring curl highlights today. Stay tuned for a tip on having a healthy mind.
Scary! Everything just shaking and making big creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking, then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down, get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and SEDERA.
Mental health is a complex subject which is hard to define. It is difficult to grasp all the different aspects of mental health. Among the list of things you can do to keep your mind healthy are getting enough rest and having a good support system.
However, one of the most important things is to accept that there are some situations you cannot change. Make a decision not to worry about them. Recognizing that some things are beyond our control is the key to a healthy, anxiety-free mind. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and your comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm.
Friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Kimani Saint-Jean.
And I'm Tarnia Green. Thank you so much for watching, and do remember to join us again tomorrow.